Hey guys, so right now I just finished a novel. I finished The Naturals, the first book in the series, Naturals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I loved that book. It was so good. I got addicted into it. It kept me hooked into it from the very first sentence, and I just loved it. I actually shot a little bit of when I was reading it in the middle, I gave my review on how it was for me until that point. And I said in that video, I'll maybe add it here, but in that video I said that I was about 80% in, right? And I was really enjoying it, and I already knew everything, and I just said that a good book needs plot twists, right? And I said that this book didn't have enough plot twists. I said there were plot twists, but they weren't big ones, and you need big plot twists to make that book something that you'll remember, right? You need something that keeps you hooked up. You need something that just blows your mind away, and it just makes you shiver, right? You need something like that. And I said that, and I was oh my god, I need a plot twist like that, and I just stopped that log, and started to read again. And in that last 20% of the book, it just took my breath away. The plot twist the author has written in that last 20%, it just completely blows it. It's like she was building the whole book to that point, and you could have probably figured it out in the whole book, but it just you couldn't have, because her writing is in one sentence she's trying to tell three things, but you can only figure out the first thing, and later in the book you know that there was the second and third thing, and it just blows your mind away. But the way she has written it, I still remember when I was reading Inheritance Games, this was something that just took my breath away, because every book has had plot twists. Those books, the Inheritance Games, they had plot twists that were the plot twist in those books, which is so good, and I wanted something like that. I craved something like that. I had been trying not to read the series for so long. I have read Inheritance Games for months now, 6 months or something, and I should have started the series because it was by the same author. But I read the synopsis, and I was it's a lot different from the Hawthorne games, right? Sorry, from the Inheritance Games, right? Because Inheritance Games had a sort of fantastical uh, thing to them, because they weren't actually real. I mean, they had the realism element, but they were more fantastical. Fantasy element was much more than the realistic element. And I love that, because I just read fantasy books more. And even though those were thriller, adventure, fantasy all in one combined, I just loved that. Those are my favorite books of all time, and I just didn't want to get into this book because I was savoring the feeling of Inheritance Games, right? And I read the synopsis of this book, and it said FBI, right? It said FBI and criminal cases and something like that. And I was that is much more realistic, much more realism element is there, and fantastical element is much lesser. So I was I don't want to read this right now. I just want to stay in the fantasy of the brothers Hawthorne and everything. And then the brothers Hawthorne, the last book in the series. Technically, it's not the last book in the series. It's actually more a standalone. It's connecting the first series to a second one that's coming after it. So it's a connection between the two series. But then that book came, and it just engulfed me. It took me back to the world of the Inheritance Games. It took me back to the Hawthorne house, back to Jameson, Grayson, Avery, all of those. I got sucked into it, and it was amazing experience. It was much thicker than the Inheritance Games, and it had loads of more volume, and it was not continuation of the story. I mean, there's this thing that I realized, that I know that many of the people did not realize. Yeah, so I was like reading it, and I just realized at the end scene, the interview, it's the same one that Avery does in the end of the final gambit. Like, it's sort of similar, right? But it's a different point of view in the Brothers Hawthorne. So it just led me to believe that the Brothers Hawthorne took place before the end scene of Final Gambit. Because in the Final Gambit, there's like the New Year, right? I think that's what it is. Like the end chapter is the New Year one. So between the end chapter and chapter before that, there's a time period. There's like time period between them that just the author doesn't tell like what happens in that time period, and you're just very curious, and no one gets it like what happens in that time period. But in the end, like the last chapter makes up for it, and you're not really confused about it. You don't think twice about it. But then this book comes and it ends in the same way the last chapter ends. So it leads me to believe that the series of events that happened in this book happened in that period between the second last and last chapter. And that is much more interesting. Like, if people would think of this with this point of view, it would be much more interesting to them, because I've heard that people wanted that this book should have all four brothers point of view, and they were very like saddened when this did not happen, because the book only had Grayson and Jameson's point of view. But I also personally believe that if it had the other's point of view, it would have been great. But still, I never led myself to believe that it would have the all the brothers perspective, because when I ended the final gambit, I just knew that the next book was gonna have Jameson Graham's point of view, because in this book a lot left unsaid, like what happened between Grayson and the other girl. I don't remember her name. I'm sorry for that. But what happened between them? What's happening with these two brothers? It's just a mystery. You don't get to know it. Whereas what happens with Nash, and we already know what happens with them, right? It's not that much of a mystery. And I feel like this book does cover elements of their lives, but I always expected it to be the two brothers only, so I'm not much disappointed. I still gave the Brothers Hawthorne 5 stars because I loved it so much, and it just took me back to the world which I loved so much. It was my comfort place, so I just loved it. It took me back to my comfort place. Of course, I gave it 5 stars. But coming back to the topic of this video, I got sucked into that world, and I was incapacitated by Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing, and it was just so good. And then I started to like listen to Inheritance Games videos online, and started to read the podcast, listen to podcasts, and it was so good. But then I heard a lot of things in the process about the Natural series, right? I just heard so much stuff about it, and I was like, I want to read this now. So I found time and I started the series, and it was so good. My mind is blowing because it's the same author, it's the same writing. I already know her writing, it's my comfort place. So, no matter what the story would have been, the fact that it's the same author's writing and it is my comfort place, her writing, and the way like her writings are always like about the same thing, like mysteries, trail hunts, treasure hunts, and you follow the trail and you find it. There are tricks in between, there is plot twist, big plot twist, and that's what I really like about it, the plot twist part. And so when I read 80% of the book, the first book, it did not have that many plot twists, and I was like, I need plot twists. And then I read the last 20%, and my mind just went away. So I really liked it. But I've also heard that the next book in the series is much better, and I cannot wait to start it. In fact, just as I end this video, I'm gonna start it. But this was more like an introduction. Now we're gonna go to the spoiler section of this video. I'm gonna tell you guys about what's in the book because I'm really excited to discuss it, and I really loved it. Okay, so let's start. Firstly, The Naturals is I'm gonna tell you guys what's it about basically. So we're gonna start from the very beginning of the story. So in the starting, there's this girl, Cassie. We get to know about her, what she's doing, how is her life, what's happening in her life, and is she happy in her life or not, is she comfortable, we get to know about her basically. And we just start with her as the main character, but there are many more characters that you would find like much better or like much more interesting than her, but she still stays like one of the biggest like characters, right? And so her mother, Cassie's mother, basically died 5 years before the timeline starts in the series, right? And so her mother died, and we don't know why her mother died. We don't know anything. We just know that there's Cassie, and she has a big family. She lives with the father, but her mother's not here anymore, and she just really misses her mother. She loved her mother. We just know that, and that is basically what we start with, and we go to the story. Where we don't get to know much about her mother until like we are in like 60% of the book, so that's very interesting because you start to think that this book is not about her mother, but then you just get zipped into, and it's like a smooth transaction. You don't know anything about her, and you don't think that book is gonna be about her mother, but then you just get sucked into it, and it is really about her mother. So is that basically. So, there are 5 people who have abilities like none other. Like, they have abilities, stuff they can do with their minds, and they can interpret people, and they're just so unique, and they have like superpowers. Like, I would say superpowers, but these are just like abilities they have. And these 5 people, they are like so special that their abilities can help the FBI solve cases that cannot be solved without their help, because the stuff they can do would be really helpful. So she gets recruited by FBI and she gets taken there. Fast forwarding, she meets 5 people. She meets 4 people, including her. It's 5 people, and they are the naturals. They are the naturals. They have natural abilities, natural talents, natural stuff they can do. That's why they're natural. So we meet Michael. We meet Michael in the first chapter only, which sets us to believe that he is going to be a main character. But we focus on all 5 of the characters, mainly on Cassie and Michael, but still others are like really important too. So we have Cassie, Michael, Leah, Dean, and Solent. Yeah, sorry. But yeah, so we follow these 5 characters, and all of them have very unique abilities. Cassie and Dean have the same ability. They can profilate people. They can just look at someone and know their entire history. Basically, they can study them, like what they are doing, and they can know everything they want to know about them. They have this like really good ability. And then Solane is a walking, talking encyclopedia. You can ask her whatever you want to ask and she'll answer. She has such a fast brain, she can interpret anything, anagrams, everything. And I'm starting to think anagrams are the favorite thing of Jennifer Lynn Barnes. There is one in this book, but the Horton brothers, the series, the Inheritance games, filled with anagrams. So I'm starting to think that Jennifer Lynn Barnes really love anagrams, and with her books, I have come to love them too. So basically, Solan is a walking talking encyclopedia. I don't think anything more needs to be told. And Leah is a walking talking lie detector. She can know when someone is lying, but she herself can lie. So people around her always have to speak the truth when they're talking with her, but she often tells lies because they cannot detect whether she is telling a lie or not. And Michael has the ability to read people's emotions, so he can just look at a person and know what that person is feeling. Is he angry? This whatever the person is feeling, whatever stuff is going through, Michael can know that. So these abilities that these naturals have, the FBI thinks that these abilities can help the FBI to solve cases and everything. And she goes Cassie goes and Cassie meets these people, but the thing is, they are not really solving real cases. They're solving cold cases which the FBI could not solve in the past, but they're not solving current cases, right? So it just gets boring for them, and then is when the real story starts. I'm feeling that this video is going to be very long since I talked so long about the inheritance games. Really shouldn't have done that, but I'm gonna include the rest of this book in another video, keep you guys guessing. And if you want, you can read this book. I didn't have many spoilers till now, so you should probably go and read this book before you see the second part of this video, which is going to be spoiler section. Anyways, thank you guys for watching today's video. I hope you guys liked it, and I hope you guys read the Inheritance Games of the Natural series because I just loved it. See you guys later. Bye.